नमस्कार दोस्तों, आपके लिए खुशखबरी है। अब इग्नू स्टूडेंट्स को सॉल्व्ड असाइनमेंट के लिए कोई भी पैसा खर्च करने की जरूरत नहीं है। अब आप हमारे चैनल पर अपलोडेड सॉल्यूशन को रेफर कर सकते हैं और उसकी पीडीएफ भी फ्री में डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं। जल्दी से चैनल के वीडियो सेक्शन में जाकर चेक करें और अधिक सॉल्यूशन वीडियो के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें। Assignment I. Answer the following in about 500 words each. 1. Evaluate the main archaeological sources for the reconstruction of ancient Indian history. Archaeology is indispensable for reconstructing ancient Indian history, especially for periods lacking written records, such as the prehistoric and protohistoric eras. The main categories of archaeological sources include times coins, numismatics. These provide vital data on economic history, the extent of empires, and the chronology of ruling dynasties. For example, coins helped identify the initial year of the Gupta era. Times inscriptions, epigraphy. These are considered more reliable than literary texts as they are often contemporary to the events they describe. Ashokan inscriptions, rock and pillar edicts, are primary examples that reveal royal proclamations and the extent of the Mauryan Empire. Times monuments and architecture. Structural remains like the Great Stupa at Sanchi or the Mahachaitya at Amravati offer insights into religious practices, artistic development, and patronage. Times excavated artifacts. Items like pottery, example ochre-colored pottery, painted greyware, tools, and household remains help reconstruct the daily lives, dietary habits, and technological progress of ancient societies. Times scientific techniques. Modern methods like radiocarbon dating, C14, allow historians to establish absolute chronologies for organic remains. Archaeological sources are often deemed more authentic because they may voice the sentiments of common people, whereas literary texts often represent the elite perspective of kings and Brahmins. 2. Write a short note on the Mauryan administration. The Mauryan administration was characterized by a vast and elaborate mechanism aimed at governing a large, heterogeneous empire. Its features include times centralized control. The system comprised various tiers of administration with a high degree of centralized authority under the king. Times administrative apparatus. The state maintained a complex bureaucracy to manage various functions. The Arthashastra serves as a key source for understanding these governance matters. Times provincial and local governance. While the center was powerful, the administration was simpler than later periods but still featured organized oversight across different regions. Times policy of Dhamma. Under Ashoka, the administration shifted toward welfare and moral governance. Officials were tasked with preaching the policy of Dhamma, which transformed the attitude of the state toward its subjects. Times military and espionage. The state maintained a strong military and used various sources of information, including accounts from foreign observers like Megasthenes, to ensure stability. Assignment 2, 250 words each. 3. Explain the Buddhist philosophy of nirvana and karma. Buddhist philosophy is centered on the cessation of suffering and the cycle of rebirth. Two of its most foundational pillars are nirvana and karma. Times nirvana. In the Buddhist tradition, nirvana is the ultimate goal of the spiritual path. It literally means extinguishing or blowing out, referring to the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. According to the course material, nirvana is not a physical place but a state of supreme knowledge and liberation. It is the end of samsara, the cycle of birth and death. Siddhartha Gautama attained this state under the Bodhi tree, becoming the Buddha. Nirvana is achieved by following the middle path and the eightfold path, which balance self-indulgence and extreme asceticism. Times karma. Buddhism adapted the existing Indian concept of karma but gave it a distinct ethical emphasis. It refers to the law of moral causation. Every intentional action, physical, oral, or mental, creates a seed that will eventually bear fruit. Positive actions lead to better rebirths or progress toward enlightenment, while negative actions lead to further suffering. Unlike some contemporary traditions that viewed karma as purely ritualistic, the Buddha emphasized intention, chetna. Therefore, Karma in Buddhism is a psychological and moral force that determines the quality of one's future existence. 4. Describe the main features of mature Harappan urbanization. The mature phase of the Harappan civilization, c. 2600 to 1900 BCE, represents the peak of ancient Indian urban planning. Its features demonstrate a high level of civic sense and social organization. Times grid system and zoning. Cities were generally divided into two parts, a citadel on a raised platform to the west and a lower town to the east. The streets were laid out in a grid pattern, intersecting at right angles, which suggests a deliberate planning authority. Times drainage and sanitation. One of the most unique features was the sophisticated drainage system. Every house had a bathroom connected to street drains. These drains were covered with stone slabs or bricks and had manholes at regular intervals for cleaning, showing an advanced understanding of hygiene. Time standardization. There was a remarkable uniformity in the size of burnt bricks, ratio of 1:4, and a system of weights and measures across vast distances from Gujarat to Punjab. Times economic specialization. Urban centers like Lothal served as dockyards for maritime trade, while Chanhudaron was a center for bead making. This specialization supported a complex economy involving long-distance trade with Mesopotamia and the Persian Gulf. Times public buildings. Large structures like the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro and the granaries at Harappa indicate the presence of a central administration capable of mobilizing labor and storing surplus grain. 5. Discuss the main features of the society during the Satavahan period. The Satavahan rule, spanning the Deccan from the 1st century BCE to the 3rd century CE, witnessed significant social transitions as Vedic culture merged with local traditions. Times social structure. While the Satvahans claimed to be Brahmins and upholders of the Varnashrama, fourfold caste system, the society was actually quite fluid. There is evidence of the assimilation of foreign tribes, like Shakas, into the social fold. Times position of women. Society remained patriarchal, but women held a visible and significant status. Satavahan kings often used metronymics, names derived from their mothers, example Gautami Putra Shatkarni. Inscriptions show that women of the royal family and merchant classes made independent land grants and religious donations to Buddhist monasteries. Times rise of the mercantile class. Due to flourishing trade with the Roman Empire, the merchant class, Vanya, and artisans, Shrenis, became very wealthy. This led to a social shift where wealth, rather than just birth, dictated social influence. Many Buddhist caves, like Karle and Kanheri, were funded by these craftsmen and traders. Times religious pluralism. The society was religiously diverse. While the kings performed Vedic sacrifices, like Ashwamedha, they also patronized Buddhism. This era saw the growth of Mahayana Buddhism and the construction of magnificent stupas, like Amravati, reflecting a society that was both religiously tolerant and economically prosperous. Assignment 3. 6. Kalibangan. Kalibangan, located in Rajasthan, was a major provincial capital of the Indus Valley civilization. It is particularly famous for two distinct phases, pre-Harappan and mature Harappan. Times unique findings. It provides the earliest evidence of a ploughed field in the world. Times religious features. Archaeologists discovered several fire altars on platforms, suggesting that ritualistic fire worship was a part of their religious life. Times architecture. Unlike other Harappan cities, Kalibangan showed a more extensive use of mud bricks, and it featured a grid-pattern town layout with a fortified citadel and a lower town. 7. Painted greyware, PGW, culture. The painted greyware culture, c. 1100 to 600 BCE, succeeded the black and red ware culture in the Indo-Gangetic Divide and the Upper Ganga Valley. Times characteristics. It is named after its distinctive fine, grey pottery painted with black geometric designs, circles, dots, and lines. Times historical significance. This culture is closely associated with the later Vedic period and the beginning of the Iron Age in North India. Times lifestyle. The people lived in wattle and daub houses, practiced agriculture, growing rice, wheat, and barley, and domesticated animals like cattle and horses. 8. Jain councils and sects. After the death of Mahavir, the Jain community eventually split into two major sects due to differences in practices. Time sects: the Digambaras, sky-clad, who believe in total nudity and strict asceticism, and the Shwetambaras, white-clad, who wear white garments. Times councils: the first council was held at Patliputra, 4th century BCE, to compile the Jain canon, though the Digambaras did not accept its results. Times the second council was held at Vallabhi, 5th or 6th century CE, where the Shwetambara canon was finally reduced to writing in its current form. 9. Tamilaham. Tamilaham refers to the ancient Tamil region comprising present-day Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and parts of Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. Times political structure. It was ruled by three major lineages known as the Muventar: the Cholas, the Cheras, and the Pandyas. Times social geography. The region was divided into 5 ecological zones called Tainas, such as Kurinji for mountains and Mullai for pastoral lands, each with its own distinct lifestyle and occupation. Times culture. This region is the cradle of Sangam literature, which provides detailed insights into the heroic society, trade, and culture of the far south. 10. Arthashastra. The Arthashastra, traditionally attributed to Kautilya, Chanakya, is a comprehensive ancient Indian treatise on statecraft, economic policy, and military strategy. Times content. It details the Saptanga theory, 7 limbs of the state, including the king, ministers, territory, and treasury. Times governance. It provides a blueprint for a highly centralized administrative system, focusing on the collection of taxes, the maintenance of a spy network, and the duties of a Chakravartin, universal ruler. Times significance. It is one of the most important literary sources for understanding Mauryan administration and the secular aspects of ancient Indian political thought.